start things off by welcoming everyone to our first of the next generation Esri Brown Bag GIS Education Chats. We're glad to have you here. My name is Joseph Kursky. I'm on the education industry team serving education at all levels, along with my colleague Kanserina Kernia, and we've got a couple of other of our colleagues on as well. We would like you to, if you would like, to write your name in the chat box and indicate where you're working or where you're located. We are recording the session, and we encourage you to send notes to Ismeal Chivite and Mandy Lee, who will be leading our session today on one of my favorite tools in all of GIS land, the QuickCapture app. And they are going to lead us onward in what it is, how to use it, how to teach with it, and some new and exciting things in that app. So they have told Rena and I that they are willing to take questions during the session. So feel free, as the need arises, to go ahead and type a question in there, and Rena and I will relay that question to our presenters. So welcome everyone, and thank you so much, Ismeal and Mandy, for leading us in the QuickCapture app today.
Yeah.
Probably mute the phone while we presenting. So, but you can unmute you anytime as well. Ismail, I stopped sharing. Go ahead.
Okay.
You know, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay.
So my son is taking a class in the other room.
All right, cool, thanks.
Oh, nice.
And the teacher is saying, you guys need to turn on your cameras. It looks like teachers want to see the faces of people in the room. This should not be different. We want to see the faces of all the teachers too. It was kind of interesting, right? When this whole COVID started, everyone had the cameras on, and then as the weeks go by, people turn off the cameras. What's going on?
We haven't gotten haircuts in a long time.
Oh,
yeah.
That is great.
I got one of these hair clippers from Amazon, you know, so you can see.
Yeah, Ismail, I was looking at some photos of you at the user conference plenary, and you had long hair not too long ago.
Right. Yes. There are also some virtual hairs out there. You can put your own virtual hair.
Oh.
So I can see Esther, Carol. Hey, Carol.
Yes. And we have Jen Swift. Yes.
Yes.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Diana. Yeah. Hi, Jen.
One of my colleagues is working on a graphic, which I can share with everybody when he's done. It's going to be a picture of a blank tile with a name equals a cardboard cutout of a person sitting in a seat. So, because that's what it is sometimes if you can't see with the students, if you can't see them.
That's perfect.
Anyways,
but
I think we can.
I'm going to turn my video off so I can save some bandwidth here.
Okay. Yes, all good, all good. Okay, let's start. Thank you, first of all, Joseph and Rena. It's great to have an opportunity to share with all of you QuickCapture. I'm being joined as well by Mandy. Hey, Mandy.
Hey, everyone. Morning.
Mandy and I work from Redlands in the QuickCapture team. So we are going to go right into it. Let me start sharing my screen. I think QuickCapture is kind of an interesting tool that you can use in the classroom. If, you know, there are many projects where the students need to go out and capture data, do field observations. And QuickCapture is a very simple mobile app that you can use to help the students capture those informations. You know, like this could be just point data, field observations with photos, but also more complex geographies like, you know, lines and polygons as well. And the idea of the app is to simplify data collection as much as possible. And you can see that the concept is Well, it's a mobile application with big buttons. When you push the button, we capture that field observation and we get the location from your phone. So we add that data into the map right away. That's the basic concept. The application is so simple to use that you can actually use it while traveling in a vehicle, walking, and you can download the app from the store. In fact, I want to ask all of you to download the application from the store. It's free. You can download it from Google Play, from the iOS store, from Apple. I want you to download it because we will actually be using it today in this session. And while you download the application, we can have a look at a couple of case studies, just so you can see what people are doing. This one is an interesting one from Canada, where they are using the QuickCapture app to capture interesting places along mountain bike trails, but they actually use the application to digitize, to map the mountain bike trails as they ride. This one is from King County. They use it to map the location of invasive species. And they love it, again, because it's super easy for the people in the field to just, hike and then pull the phone out of their pocket, push the button, and that adds the point into the map. And they are done and they can keep moving. I'm going to do a quick survey here. How many of you already have the application installed? So if you do, please add a little, say a little, I have it into the chat window so we can see how many people have it. So Christine has it. Joseph, Nathan, Doug. Okay, cool. Okay, so it's good. Downloading now. Okay, and downloading. Right. So as I said, you can capture points, but you can also capture lines and polygons too. You will see it very, very soon. So I'll give you just a minute to install it. In the meantime, for those of you that already have it, I'm going to share with you this QR code so you can actually download a project. So we are going to work with this project. It's called the BioBlitz project. I guess you understand what a BioBlitz is, right? It's like it's a gathering of people where you select a geography of interest, and then everybody goes and tries to take photos and identify a species. Could be plants, could be insects, animals, all of them. And the idea is we go out, we take as many field observations as we can, and then a panel of experts reviews all the photos, all the data, and tries to kind of make sense of it. Like, this is this type of bird, this is this type of plant, to basically create an inventory of every plant, every animal within that geography. Sort of a citizen science / crowdsourcing type of thing. So I created this project, and we will actually create this project as well here.
Can you show the code again, Ismail?
Yeah, so this is the QR code. You can use the camera on your phone. So you actually don't even need to start QuickCapture for this. You just open the camera on your phone, and then you point to the QR code, and then you tap on that dialog that you will see, and this will automatically download the project into your QuickCapture application.
Hey, Ismail, there is a question. Can you put a link to the QR code in the chat, please?
Yes. So if the QR code doesn't work for you, then you can use this chat window. Just go to the chat window. You will need to open this link from your mobile phone. Okay, so you need to open the link from the phone, or alternatively, you can just use the QR code. So all I would like you to do is to simply capture data, just to get a feel of what the application is.
I'm gonna capture data.
Yes, so as you submit the data, just say yes, or I did it, I submitted data in the chat window.
Hi, Neil. It's a very small project actually. So Ismail, there's a note here, comment from Neil that it seems like
It
it's
should
hang.
download in 10 seconds. I mean,
Okay.
it's very, very small. Hey, Christine, can you tell us what do you mean by unable to capture data? Cool, it seems like some data is coming in. If you have a problem, just unmute yourself, speak up so we can solve your problem.
No, I think I'm in. Thank you. I was just late.
Awesome. There is no need to log in. You know, again, I will say it again, Jennifer, all you need to do is to download the application and then open the camera on your phone and then scan the code. And then the project will load. You don't need to log in this application. Okay, I'm going to switch here. Hopefully you don't need the QR code anymore. I'm going to switch to have a look at the data that we have so far. Nice, you can see the data. We captured a few plants, mammals, a few insects, very few birds. Okay, so you can see the information coming in. I'm going to click here on some of these data. We can see some of the photos that people are taking. There you go. So you can see, you know, it didn't take very long, really. I didn't have to explain much about the application. You were able to just download it and use it. For the most part, I want to just take one more minute. Any questions, anyone who couldn't really submit data, feel free to unmute and speak up.
There is a question there, Ismail. What are the attributes?
What are the attributes? So we will see this very shortly. When you push the button, you can configure the behavior of the button to capture different things. So in my case, I'm capturing the time when the observation is made, the observation type. The observation type is coming basically based on the button that you push. And then the accuracy is captured automatically. I'll show you how to do that. This is really important because this tells you, you know, how accurate the location of this point is in the map, right? So this is within 10-meter accuracy. So let's get down here, right? This is from this house. And you can capture many other attributes, as you will see, like the speed at which the user is traveling when the data is submitted. And you can even add comments if you want. I didn't do it here, but you can actually add comments. So the user types in the comments. So now that you are somewhat familiar with the application, I'm going to show you a few tricks within the application, and then we will show how you can create your own projects. Okay? So this is the application running on my Windows machine. It also runs on Windows. And I'm going to open the project here. So this is pretty obvious, right? We launch this screen to force you to set a name, like an observer name. You see, my project is configured to use this information and add it as an attribute automatically into these features. In fact, if I click here again, you'll see that the observer is John, right? Or in this one, the observer is Reina. So that's the name of the observer that you typed in at the beginning, and it's at the top. You can actually change this and say, now, you know, I'm Rina, right? You can change it anytime. But once you type it in, you actually don't have to touch it. So then the obvious, you tap on the button and it captures that type of feature. So I'm going to tap on mammal, triggers the camera, you snap the photo, you say done, and then that feature is created. At the top right corner, right here at the top right, you can actually click and look at the data in a map, okay? So you can see here the location that I have. And from here, you can actually send the data if you like, or use this button. This is kind of interesting. This is a navigation button. So you can switch, if you are moving, say you are riding a bicycle, you are in a car, you can actually have the map follow you along. So you simply by tapping this guy, you can control the navigation mode. So anyways, you can send the data manually from here, and that boom, pushes into the database. But also, I'm going to point out here the accuracy of the phone that is constantly letting you know what's the accuracy. And also, if you come to the gallery, you can go to settings and change a few things. For example, you see this is the auto send policy. You can send data immediately after 30 seconds, or maybe even manually. You can choose that. And then you can even connect to external GNSS receivers from here. You can connect via Bluetooth to a GPS. If you are on Windows, you can connect via USB to improve the quality of the data. And the beauty of this application is that you can configure these for many different workflows. For example, here is a different project that I configured. I arranged buttons in different groups, right? So you can decide what goes in each of these groups. What else? If I click on this guy here, you can pop dialogues at the beginning instead of free text. So let's have a look at how you build this type of things on your own. Any questions so far?
I have a quick question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So when you if you set it to automatically update, right? Automatically update as soon as they make the observation, but the person lost connection to the signal, will it allow them to continue make observations and then send them once the signal's restored?
Yes, that's a great question. So the application, if you are connected, the application will send the data. If you are not, it will keep it locally. And when you reconnect, it will automatically send the data. In fact, something you can do, like a lot of people say, will this application work offline? You can actually, now that you have the project downloaded, you can turn airplane mode, disconnect from the Wi-Fi, and you will see it still works. You can still capture data while offline. There's no problem. And then when you reconnect, it will send. So how do you create your own projects? So to create a project in QuickCapture, the first thing you need is a feature layer. This is the place where the data will be persisted. So I'm going to create a new feature layer. By the way, if you already have it, you can use your existing layers. And in here, I'm going to say, I want to create points, lines, and polygons in my layer. So these will be observations. The line I'm going to use for my truck because I want to capture my truck. And this will be the area of interest, for example. And now you can even check this. This will add a collection of GPS related fields into the feature layer. And those fields are important. You were asking, where are the attributes coming from? How can I define the attributes? Well, that's defined on your layer. If you have an attribute, a column on your layer, you can actually use QuickCapture to put data into it. So I'm waiting now for this layer to be created. This is an empty layer. And here, right from ArcGIS Online, I'm going to go into data. Now, if you look carefully, my feature service has points, lines, and polygons. So now I'm going to switch into data, and then I'm going to switch into fields, right? So in this case, this is my point layer observations, and you can see all the fields that I have already. Now I'm going to add one more, or a couple more actually. So I'm going to go into add, and I'm going to say observation type. Observation type. This will be a string. There you go. So now if I go at the bottom, you can see here my field. And in this field, I can even add, I can create a list. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically restricting the values that can be added into this particular attribute. So I'm going to add mammal and insect. These are the different types of observations that people can make. I'm going to say plant. I'm going to go with other. I'm going to leave it like this. You can keep adding more values in here. I'm also going to add another field here for to capture, say, the comments, just plain comments, like free text. So I'm going to add a new field. I'm going to add these comments, and it's going to be a string as well. Okay, so you can add numbers, you can add dates, whatever you need, really. And now that I have my schema of the database, I'm going to switch into visualization. The visualization tab allows me to define a default symbology for the data in this layer. So I'm going to pick the observation type column that I just added, and this will automatically pick the different values that I allow: insect, mammal, other, and plant. And then I'm going to basically create the rendering of this. So insects are going to be black. Mammals, oops, I'm going to make this bigger. I'm going to say 25. Mammals will be orange. Insects, let's say 25. The plants will be green. This is going to help later on, as you will see, because defining the categories of data within your layer will help QuickCapture create the buttons in your project, at least initially. So I just saved the layer. So I have my layer is empty. Now I'm going to come here to the top. You see the app launcher right here, right by my profile. And I'm going to say QuickCapture. This jumps out of ArcGIS.com into a web application that is specifically designed to create this type of projects. So I'm going to say, create a new project from an existing layer. This is listing all the layers I have access to, including Demo Morning, which is the one we just created together. And then this is basically going to create buttons from the layer symbology. Yes, it's check on. So I say next, and then it creates my project here, right? So you can put this into whatever folder you want in your content and say, boom, create. So this is looking at the feature layer and creating a project. So as you can see, I have as many groups of buttons as I have layers in my service. So my area of interest group is for the area of interest polygon. And I can actually change this now. I can say area of interest, right? And then I have the track. So this is the track. I can actually start moving things around. So I can move this guy here, right? You saw that. And I can actually remove this group. You know, I don't care about that group. I can remove the label in here. I can say I want actually one column. So I will have the track, the area of interest. Let's change this, area of interest. And then the same with my point buttons. I can move them around, rearrange them. In fact, from here I can say, take this button. You can see that by default, it gets the symbology that we defined, but we can also say, remove that image and then add, say, an image that you may have. So I'm going to switch here and look. I'm going to look for images here. If I remember where I have my buttons. Ooh, yeah, I don't remember where I have my buttons. But it's all right. You can actually change the icons here with your own images. And you can change the labels. You can change also the shape of these buttons. You can make them with different shapes as well. So here I'm going to use, for example, rounded corners, right? And the other thing that is interesting here is that you can also switch to data. And here is where you control what attributes are added to your observations. So here, for example, I say, this is a plant button. It's going to create a single point. You could also do streaming points. As you move along, it adds boom, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. So that's your choice. You can also say, I want to take a photo of the plant and I want to make this required or not. You can keep it optional. That's really your call. So I'm going to make it required in my case. And then these are the attributes. This list here, these are the columns that I created. Like, for example, we have a speed. We have a field for a speed. So here you can choose to populate this field with the speed of the user. So these are variables. We call them device variables. Those are things that the application can complete for you. And at the very bottom, we should have observation type. So you see observation type. When you push this button, it's plant. But if I push this insect button, then scroll down to the bottom, it's insect, right? But you can actually change that. You can put whatever value you want in there, okay? So by tapping one single button, you can add 3 attributes at once. Something I'm going to add here is, I'm going to add an option. Let me remove this button here. I'm going to add an option here in other to add comments. So if I go into data and I scroll down, you see here in comments I could say, add a comment. So every time you tap this button, the value in this field will be add a comment. It's a fixed value, but that's not what I want. I want input from the user. So you can say, I want to use a button user input. And then you say, okay, I'm going to create a new dialog. It's called comments, and it's going to let you enter text in a multi-line control. And I'm going to make it required. So now I'm going to save this. It's already saved, right, in my account. And this is the QR code to download. Now, I haven't shared this yet, so you cannot scan this QR code. I'm going to test it on my own. So here, I'm going to come into my application and then say, I want to browse projects. This is the demo morning project. It gets downloaded. And now I can start capturing data. So this is the actual application. You can see, that when I tap on other, the comments dialog pops up. This is my test. Done. When I tap on plant, this triggers the camera. So for the camera to work, I need to stop the video. I click on this guy, I take the photo, done. And when I tap on insect, no dialogue, no photo. It just creates a point. So you can control the behavior of these buttons. Also note that when I click on track, it starts flashing. Why? Because this is a polyline button. This is creating a line as I move, right? So in my case, I have my application configured with fake locations. It's simulating movement. So you can see here it's creating a line as I move around, right? And I could do the same with this guy. Area of interest. This is not a line, this is a polygon. So if I switch, you'll see as soon as we start doing the corner, it's digitizing a polygon, right? As we move. So it's very, very powerful. I mean, you can create points, you can create lines, you can create polygons, and most importantly, you can create them as you go, right? So while this polygon and this line is being generated, I can actually go and say, add an insect, right? And this gets added into the database. You can see this guy here. I can tap on it, it's an insect. We just captured that guy, right? Is that making sense?
Yeah, and hey, Ismail, we've got a couple questions, if you're willing to take a few brief ones. Okay, first, I assume that small-sized icons are ideal here, but let's say you're importing your own. There was a question about, is there any guidelines in terms of the, the actual pixel size or the kilobytes, size in kilobytes of these images that say you import your own for the points, for example?
Right. I mean, yes. I mean, you don't want to load these humongous images, right? So you can go with, say, 400 pixels by 400 pixels, or you can even better, you can go with SVG, which is a format that is a vector format. These images are kilobytes, really.
Yeah.
You can actually try to put, bigger images, but that's going to increase the size of the project unnecessarily, because at the end of the day, these buttons are tiny. So
yep, that totally makes sense. Thanks. And the second one is, let's say I'm adding a point and I'm using the app on the mobile device. Is there any way for me to offset it? Let's say I'm taking a picture of a power pole across
Right.
the highway.
Yes. Totally. Yes. So say, let's take an insect example. So when you tap at the bottom, you see this toolbar appears for a few seconds. So if you click on this guy, it brings them up. And then in the map, you can say, oh, this is the location where I'm here, but the plant is actually here. So you move it, and then you say update.
Yep, that appears right at the, yeah. In my case, I'm not a very good biogeographer, so if it's insects, yeah, I want to be a fair distance away. Got it. Thank you.
So just one note here is that when you do this is the only time at which you can actually move. In other words, only immediately capturing that observation, you can move it. You cannot move it 2 hours later. And this is by design, right? We want you to set the location right when you are capturing the data. Now, once it's captured, you cannot move it from the application. In fact, in some cases, you don't want people to move it. So we are adding configurations in here to prevent people from even seeing that little, dialogue to edit. Also, if you make a mistake, you can say, oh, sorry, I want to delete my observation. Similarly, you can always come here and say, oh, I want to tap on this observation, and you can delete it too, in case that you make mistakes.
Hey, Ismail.
Yes.
There is also another question, like what is it? This is from Barbara. Are there creation or input limitation of type of user login?
Okay, so yes, so that's a fair question. So
you can put it later on if you like, for after you're done.
No, this is great. I mean, this is exactly what I want. I want to do enough for you guys to ask questions, and then it gets interesting. So the application requires you to log in unless you share with everyone, right? So, well, to share with everyone in this particular case, I need to go into my layer, which is what I'm doing right now, and I need to share it publicly as well. So I go here, share with everyone my layer. Yes, share my layer with everyone, and then I can come here and say share with everyone, right? So if I say save, now you guys can scan this and you can download my project. Now, for the option to share with everyone to appear, you need to have ArcGIS Hub Premium. If you don't have ArcGIS Hub Premium, the option to share with everyone will be disabled, which means that the students actually need an account to download the project.
The user account, just the user account for the student, it's just the normal, it can be a user, or it has to be at least publisher?
Well, it can be a field worker,
okay,
right? That's plenty. You don't have to have publishing permissions to use the app, because with the app, you are not publishing anything. You are simply capturing data.
Yes, and for the audience, any of you that have institutional license with Esri, ArcGIS Hub Premium is included in the agreement. Just contact us if you want to enable it or activate it.
Right. The classic, I can see here, collector.
Yeah.
Collector, QuickCapture, and Survey are dramatically different. It is true that the three applications are designed to capture data. It is true that the three applications support external GNSS receivers, that they work with feature layers. All of these things are similar, but the user experience is dramatically different. QuickCapture is specifically designed to help you capture observations very quickly without any training. You can get the students in no time. You don't need to explain how the application works. You let them download the project, off they go. So you can focus on what is the data that we want to capture, more than the mechanics of using the application to capture data. Now, this is designed to be simple, and that simplicity constrains what you can do. This is not like Survey 123, where you can add big forms with lots of questions and lots of options, right? It's not for building a form, or doesn't have the capabilities of collector to snap the polyline manually, to another polygon and then start digitizing. It's like completely different experience. In the resources that Rina will share with you, there is a link to a great article by Kylie Donia. She wrote an article comparing Collector, QuickCapture, and Survey 123. I think that, as an instructor, it's very important to teach the students that not all field data collection is the same. There are different workflows, and each workflow requires a different user experience to be optimal. So understanding when QuickCapture works versus Survey versus Collector is probably the biggest thing that some of these students can actually learn, right?
Yes. Thank you, Ismail. It seems like some of them try to use the QR code, but it's Jennifer, for example, it scanned the code but jump back to her workspace.
Okay, so kill the app, open it again.
No,
and the project
Ismail,
should be
that's
there.
a known issue on 1.5 with like in-app scan with the QR code for iOS and Android. But if you show the Windows QR code, it will work with no problems.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically here inside the application, right here, when you come to this button and you say scan, in 1.5 this is broken. So we will fix that. But if you use the camera on your device outside the QuickCapture app, it will load it right away.
Yeah, simply use the
camera in the device.
The native camera on your device.
By the way, we will fix this in what 3 weeks.
Already.
Yeah. It's in a few weeks it will be fixed.
Hey, I have a question.
Go ahead, Neil.
So I missed the part actually because I've been sort of furiously taking notes here. I missed a part way back in the beginning after Ismail created the feature service and then initially started with configuring the QuickCapture app, how you were able to get those 4 different types of features into your form.
Yes. So let's go back here. You basically open the item details page of your feature layer. So you see I have my feature layer. I click on it. And this gives me the overview. From here, you probably are familiar with this. This is where you come to share and things. So here you have the data and the visualization. So you can come here, visualization. And this defines, this is kind of like the web map, but we are not working on the web map here. We are actually working on the default visualization of the layer. So you come here and you set the visualization options here. Now,
so it's reading the symbology, almost like a feature template in ArcMap.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are reading the symbology of the layer. That's correct. Now, the thing is, you actually don't need this. I think this helps you kickstart your project. But when you come here to QuickCapture, let's do this slightly different. I'm going to get out. I'm going to create a project from an existing layer. Let's select the layer. But this time, I'm going to say, I do not want to create buttons. Oh, I cannot disable this. Okay, well, I'll do it anyways. I'm going to create the new project. So this is going to read all the symbology I created, and it will create the buttons accordingly. But I'm going to say, you know what? I want to delete that. And this, I'm going to delete all of it. It's like, I don't care what the symbology is in my project. I really don't care. So now you can come here at the top and say, I want to drag and drop a button. So you drag and drop the button. So this button at the moment, you can switch, the properties and change the colors, but it's not connected to anything. If I go to data, you see the button doesn't do anything. But here you can say, no, select the feature layer. So I want to create a feature in the observations layer. So you select this guy, observations. And now it shows me all the attributes here for that layer, right? So you can say, when this button is pushed in observation type, I want to add, you can pick from the coded value list and say, I want to add a plant. So you add a plant. So I come back here into appearance and I say plant.
And it's reading that coded value list from what you set up in your feature service, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And in fact, now I can say, oh, now I want to duplicate this guy. So you create another one, copy of plant. So I go back into data, scroll down, and I say plant. I could actually go and say, here, I want to store some data from the user. So you can create a new dialog here with a button user input and create a dialog. Or, most likely you are going to come here and say, this is an insect, right?
Great,
Is that
thank you.
making sense?
Yep.
So, this is
similar to collector. When you create your feature class that's going to hold your data, you have to kind of anticipate the experience for your user a little bit before you kind of get to this step.
Yes, to some extent, yes. I mean,
Okay.
it really is up to you. You don't have to create these lists, right? You can keep the text, like free text, and then come here and create as many buttons as you like.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. We didn't talk much about lines and polygons, but they have their own types of interesting features in them. Like, for example, when I come here to a point button and I go into data, you will see here that we have this notion of device variables. So, for example, I'm going to pick a numeric field like longitude. You come here, you say device variable. What things can you calculate? You can calculate the latitude, the longitude, the altitude, the horizontal accuracy, the vertical accuracy, the speed, the direction of travel, the magnetic variation, all of these things you can calculate automatically. Now, these device variables show up in here because my field is numeric. But you can now switch to, say, for example, this one, fixed time. This is a date field. So for points, the only device variable we have is capture time. This captures the exact time when the user pushes the button. For lines and polygons, if you have date fields, you can persist the time when the user starts capturing the polyline and when it finishes capturing that polyline. Those are the device variables. Other things that you may want to switch are the maps. So here you have an option to control the map. What map do you want to show to the users? It could be maybe a base map from your ArcGIS Online organization, or you can choose your own web maps, right? So you can create a web map and show it in the application. In fact, here, I'm going to make this big, right? My project big. And now I'm going to open, say, this guy, the BioBlitz. So you see it's side by side. So on one half the screen, I have the map. In the other half, I have the buttons. So this is all configured from that dialog, in Designer. We call this Designer, by the way, QuickCapture Designer. You can come here and say, look, my map I want to show side by side. This only works in tablets, by the way. So when this option is checked in a tablet, this is what you get. This is extremely useful when you are traveling in a vehicle and you want to capture data quickly.
And hey, Ismail, this is amazing. Just checking, you know, with a standard like GPS unit, you know how you can, if you're taking a track, you can set it for distance or speed. This is just whatever it's doing, x number of seconds or x number of meters or something like that over ground, right? It's you can't alter it. You just take whatever it does, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
This strictly gets data from your location provider, the built-in GPS or the external GPS.
Yep.
So we have, you know, these guys, for example, who were doing this study. For them, it was very important to have 3D geometries for the trails. And because they were going fast with the bicycle, they configured an external GPS receiver at 20 hertz. In other words, they were sending, you can see here in the photo, this thing is the GPS. So they were sending 20 locations per second to QuickCapture to capture very granular geometries with the 3D and everything. And you can see here the mountain bike trails that they capture. These are bridges, places that need repair, etc.
Now that would be a cool job, collecting mountain bike trails.
From the mountain bike.
I can see doing that.
Right. So again, you know, going back to QuickCapture versus Collector versus Survey 123, why QuickCapture for this? Because it's the only practical approach to capture data at speed. Right? This is not to say that there are no workflows for Collector and Survey. There are, but this is like a very specific workflow where the simplicity of the data capture and also the ability to capture multiple features at once is very important. Like you can be capturing the geometry of the trail, and while you do that, you want to capture an issue, a bridge, a lookout, etc.
Ismail, I have another question with regard to the device variables. Did you need to create attribute fields in your feature layer to hold those first, or does the QuickCapture app or the designer, does it add those variables to your feature layer automatically?
It will add them. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it will add them. So I'm going to add a new field. I'm going to call this priority, and then I add the new field. It's in my database. Now, this is not going to pop magically here now. So if I come here, I go data, you know, I won't find it. But if I simply reload the browser, it will. Okay, so you come here, now I go to plant, data, scroll to the very bottom, priorities here. So I can use it. In fact, if you add new choices to the list in case you have a coded value domain, you refresh, it shows. We won't automatically create a button, but you can create a button. You can do a duplicate and then say, oh, I want to use that new value.
Now this is incredible. And, you know, since our focus is on education, I can see, you know, numerous sprinklings throughout here of, you know, as you referred to, there are workforce reasons to use all three of the field apps, and there are also educational reasons getting your students to use these three and to think about the most appropriate lessons and therefore the most appropriate ways to use each of these three. I think they're all valuable, like you said, because for example, Collector, you know, when you've got to set up the domain and the subtype and all that stuff, it helps the students to understand how to build a geodatabase. But in the first few weeks of class, for example, in a GIS 101 or even a Earth Systems 101 course, I'd have them go out in the field and collect in here or in Survey 123, either one, so that they're understanding, yeah, attributes and what's a web map and what's an app and accuracy, precision, all that kind of stuff. There's so many teachable moments.
Right.
Ismail, are you done with the demo? I can show them the list of resources.
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
take it over.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ismail, while she's doing that, I have another quick question. You were setting up some fields to automatically populate, whether they were device variables or not. So those fields, can you set them up in the app so that users have access to some of those fields? So for example, if you wanted a user to enter in, oh, I think you've already answered this. You can put in a comments field, right? So you could presumably do other fields. Okay.
Right.
And they could be from pick lists that you've set up either with your domain, or you've set them up in the your domain list that you set up in your feature service, or if you set them up in the QuickCapture designer.
Right, that is correct. So I'm going to paste in the chat window a link. This is a blog post that describes these, we call them user inputs. So something you need to keep in mind though is QuickCapture is not meant to be survey 1, 2, 3. So if your data collection workflow requires people to capture location, photo, priority, comments, and maybe 2 more attributes, that's not QuickCapture, because then it's not quick anymore. You need to sit down and answer these questions, right? That's survey. But if you want a field quick thing, like tap, 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 that's QuickCapture, and that's done through button user inputs.
Yeah, the use case I'm thinking of right now is something that we're doing on the campus, which is because a lot of people are not able to be at campus, we're trying to make people feel involved. And so one of the ways is to capture things that are flowering throughout the campus, and things that are coming out on the trees and wildlife and stuff. And so I think this has a use for that, because it's really one or maybe only one field where you identify the intern working on this identifies the species and takes the photo. Hi, sweetie.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, like you could have one button for every plant. Hello. You could also have buttons for every family or for every genus, right? And then let them type in the species name. Something I experimented with recently, we didn't talk about this, but QuickCapture can be connected with the Google Cloud. So I'm running a project here in Redlands where I'm taking photos of flowers. And then I'm running the photos via Google Cloud image recognition, kind of deep learning type of stuff. So Google tells me what type of photo, what type of flower it is. So the species recognition, you can do with a machine. Although that's not fun. I think the students should do the classification.
What do you say?
That's cool. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Just a few things in here. I listed the resources there, but I also in the chat give you the tiny URL to just download them. Then you get all the link. And then there's a lot of resources in Education GeoNet as well. I included that there. And if you need to contact us more, I put the contact Joseph Kursky email, my email there. And other than technical, you can also contact the higher ed at esri.com. This is the first brown bag. So we also see if you have other ideas for the topic. We have the survey 1, 2, 3 there that you can actually vote and also suggest a topic or two. Right? And Diana has a good question on that. Yes, so the recording will be always include that in that blog that Joseph made for this brown bag. You can see the next brown bag. You can see the recording of the previous one, the list of resources there. So go to that, and Joseph give the link there. So I can paste it in here as well if you can. I don't know if you can see.
Yep.
Yes. So today is the first one, and I think hope everybody enjoy it. So there is a link to download the Capture app. Will be the recording in here and resources in here. And don't forget that July we're gonna have Experience Builder. That's a new as well. If you're familiar with Web App Builder, Experience Builder is the newer addition to that. There's a next generation. That's what I want to say. Yes. Joseph, do you want to add on this?
Well,
Joseph will be in August here.
Oh, Ismail and Mandy are hard acts to follow. I can't think of any better way to start these brown bag chats than to have two of our favorite people, and I really appreciate the time that you two spent today with us. I learned a ton, and I trust that everyone did as well. But yes, August, just as a preview, it's going to be linking Survey 123, story maps, dashboards, and ArcGIS Online. So the power of combining some of these components of this web GIS architecture. It'll be lots of fun. So yes, thank you all. Thanks, Rena, and thanks, Ismail. Thank you, Mandy, and all of you that participated, and all of you that are making a positive difference in the education world. Map on.
Yes, come back, chat with us, and we make it really informal for the brown bag. Help you find it. Hello.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
She said, Helen said bye.
She said,
Bye-bye,
"Helen,
young lady."
We're going to say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ismail.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joseph. Take care.
See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
Ismail.
Thank you.